Okay. When you're ready, I'm ready. Call the meeting to order. Roll call of aldermen.
Mr. Heisler.
Here.
Mr. Kinsella.
Here.
Mrs. Holt.
Here.
Mrs. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Ridgewitz.
Here.
Mr. Randall.
Here.
Mr. Anthony.
Here.
Mr. Davidson.
Here.
Mr. Silsby. Mr. Hayden.
Here.
Mr. Seibert. Mr. White.
Here.
Mr. Galletti.
Here.
Mr. Musgrove.
Here.
Mr. Orlett.
Here.
Ms. Schneider.
Here.
Alderman Silsby and Alderman Seibert are excused. Roll call department heads.
Police Chief Clay. Fire Chief Poor.
Here.
City Attorney Horner.
Here.
Ken Vaughn.
Here.
Royce Carlisle.
Here.
Jamie Matrid. Tim Gregowitz. Jim Schneider. Leander Spearman. Emily Foltz. Chuck Schaefer. Bob Sabo. Debbie Belleville. City Treasurer Hart.
Here.
Okay, Mike Parks is here for Chuck Schaefer, and Captain Sachs is here for Chief Clay. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. We have no public hearings this evening. We will open public participation. When you raise your hand and I call on you, please step to the microphone, give your name and address, and please try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes so we keep the meeting moving along, and make sure that everything is very tasteful as it's outlined in the beginning here. If you haven't ever read one of our packets, they're in the back there. So at this time, I'll open public participation. Is anyone this evening? Yes, sir.
Michael Hagberg, 701 Centerville Avenue. TIF 16 borrowed $1 million from TIF 3 to purchase the bicentennial swampland. Then it took another $1.5 million from TIF 3 to build a parking lot and restrooms. When, if ever, do you plan on having TIF 16 repaying this money to TIF 3? Tonight, there's an agenda item to accept a $150,000 grant from the Metro East Parks Department, District. This is a 25% matching grant. The taxpayers are going to have to come up with an additional $500,000 to qualify for this grant. Where is this money coming from? There's only $107,000 available in TIF 16's fund. Stop robbing TIF 3 to pay for parking lots and restrooms in TIF 16 when you're very aware that TIF 3 is going to have to be funding the $18 million new police station. Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back of the room.
Stuart Lanner, 318 South 29th Street, Belleville, Illinois. I kind of figured Chief Clay had chicken out tonight. I think.
Okay, Stuart, now I'm going to warn you right off the bat. We're not here to be critical. We're not here to point fingers. If you have a comment, you know, if you want to meet with Chief Clay privately, then I'll make that arrangement for you. But we're not going to start name calling or making statements of that kind right at the beginning of this meeting. That's what I just said about reading the rules here about good taste, good character, okay? So proceed.
Well, by the political campaigns for the last 6 months, there's nothing polite about it. They're full of lies and innuendos. And okay, I think that it's a disgrace for Chief Clay to get the police department involved in this sleazy politics in St. Clair County. I personally would have him fired. We got enough problems in this county, and the police department's the only thing that has a semblance of honesty and integrity, and now he's already thrown that away. And I talked to Tom Holbrook's office today, and he made a few weeks ago, he made a big to-do about, oh, we got all the voter rolls purged. I said, well, does that count East St. Louis? No, that's altogether separate. Well, right here, you got 4 shacks of a total of 83 votes. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. And if the Democrats in St. Clair County were serious, they could go down there and demolish that election board and have it, East St. Louis wouldn't have it a separate election board, so they can throw every election in this county there to the Democrats with their massive vote fraud down there. And about safety in Belleville, this is just one crime blotter. Belleville arrested, murder charge, methamphetamine production, child under 18 where meth is manufactured. Arrested on suspicion of aggravated stalking, whatever that is. Assault and unlawful possession of a firearm. We need a good, honest police department, and they run the stop sign where I live constantly, and I called the police department. They say that goes on all over Belleville. I said, well, evidently the people in Belleville have no respect for the police department, the laws, or the city of Belleville. And after this election, after the police has been politicized, I think this disrespect for the police is going to even be worse. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Hearing none, I will close public participation. And we will move on to the second page under presentations, recognitions, and appointments. And the first thing I would do this evening is I would ask Abby Hawthorne, a student from Belleville East, a junior who's in the BASIC initiative, to please come forward, and as we do most months, have a student from the BASIC initiative read the word of the month and whatever statement she would like to share. Abby?
Okay. Hi, I'm Abby Hawthorne. I'm a junior at Belleville East, as Marica just said, and I'm on the BASIC Youth Board. And I'm here to talk about November's word of the month, which is peace. The definition of peace is to have state of mutual harmony between people or groups of people. Now, in order to contribute to the word peace, the BASIC Youth Board has become a part of the #StartsWithUs campaign. The Starts With Us campaign is a way to challenge individuals all across the country to stop cyberbullying that goes on around the world. We're going around writing nice things on clothespins like this, and we're tweeting or Instagramming a selfie with the clothespin with the #StartsWithUs, and it's basically spreading positivity all around our schools, and eventually we're hoping that it spreads all around the world. So we're trying to end cyberbullying with, these clothespins. So in order to help spread the positivity, I want to give this clothespin to Mayor Eckert.
Thank you. Very good.
And then I have to take a selfie with you.
Okay, well, come on up here. I gotta put this on my coat? Or you want somebody to take it?
No, I can take it.
Okay, oh, you're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it very much. Abby, before you walk out, I think you all went to a seminar. Did you go to over in St. Louis? Did you go with some of the kids? Some of them did. Some of them did, and they had some pretty good speakers, and they were talking about bullying and the effects of it. And as we all know and read and listen on the news, it's been a pretty serious topic for some time. So I applaud the initiative of the BASIC group, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, at this time, I would ask, is Mrs. Cotton here? You want to come forward? I'm going to read this from here, and then I'll come down. We'll snap a picture. If you want to come, that's fine right there. I've been asked to read, last month we had October, St. Elizabeth's brought forward the breast cancer awareness. And from time to time, we get asked to to do some educating to the public, and this is a great forum. So I'm happy to do this one tonight because it's another illness that really is not a secret, but I think it's kind of amazing when you listen to some of the statistics. This proclamation reads as follows: whereas chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, is a term used to describe a group of diseases causing airflow obstruction, mainly associated with emphysema and chronic bronchitis. And whereas COPD affects over 24 million individuals in the United States, and an estimated 580,000 in Illinois. And whereas in 2010, the National Center for Health Statistics released a report stating that in 2008, COPD became the third leading cause of death in the United States. And whereas COPD currently accounts for 1.5 million emergency department visits, 699,000 hospitalizations, and 10.3 million physician office visits, all of which are a detriment to the United States economy. COPD cost the nation an estimated $49.9 billion in direct and indirect medical costs annually. And whereas COPD affects an estimated 580,000 citizens of the state of Illinois, with at least this many or more persons that are estimated to be undiagnosed. Chronic lower respiratory disease, including COPD, is the third leading cause of death in the state. The Respiratory Health Association is participating in local efforts to a statewide effort to increase early detection, improve care and treatment, and prevent and reduce the prevalence of this disease. And whereas research has identified a hereditary protein deficiency called alpha-1, what's the word?
Antitrypsin.
That's it. I knew she knew that quicker than me. People with this deficiency tend to develop COPD despite the lack of exposure to smoking and environmental triggers. And whereas women over the age of 40 are the fastest growing segment of the population developing this irreversible disease, due in large to equalization of opportunity for men and women to smoke over the past several generations. And whereas there is currently no cure for COPD, the spirometry testing and medical treatments exist and address symptoms and possibly slow progression of the disease. And whereas until there is a cure, the best approach to preventing COPD and its considerable health, societal, and morality impacts life lie in education, awareness, and expanded delivery of detection and management protocols. Now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, do hereby recognize November 2014 as COPD Awareness Month in our community and encourage others to promote education, awareness, and screening of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Thank you.
So, you want to come forward? We'll grab a quick, you got somebody take a picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to say quickly,
Sure.
on behalf of the COPD Foundation and the Respiratory Health Association out of Chicago, Mayor Eckert, we would like to thank you. Okay, this is the first time we've ever gone local. We've been on Capitol Hill, federal, state, and now we're gonna head for the mayor. So I'll be doing this every year with you, okay? Thank you so much.
This is where you really do affect a lot of people.
Absolutely, thank you.
Maybe we should turn. The next item on the agenda is is a motion coming from, recommendation coming from the mayor to make the appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission to serve a one-year term, Douglas P. Luna. Is Doug here tonight? Oh, there he is. Very good.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Holt. Do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Mr. Luna, thank you so much. They look forward, and I look forward to having you serve on that committee. I think you met Emily before, and they'll work with you as far as getting you situated or acclimated, and We appreciate it. From reading your resume and from what Eric and everyone on the committee has told me, you bring a lot to this group, and we appreciate having you there. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, very good. Okay, we move now to the minutes of the last council meeting, October 20th, 2014. What's your pleasure?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the city council meeting minutes of October 20th. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor of accepting and filing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a city treasurer's report, City of Belleville funds and statement of cash and investments for August 2014. What's your pleasure?
I
Yes.
move we approve these.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella to approve
Second, Your
and
Honor.
file. Second by Alderman Heisler to accept and file. Discussion. All in favor of accepting these reports and have them filed properly, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a city attorney's report dated October 30th, 2014. Mrs. Schmidt.
Move we accept and file the city attorney's report.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Anthony. Do I hear discussion? All in favor of accepting and filing signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Order, did we skip claims? Yes, we did. Claims. Number one.
We did by accident, and okay. We will now move back to what I oversaw with these bifocals, and I will ask for a motion to approve the claims, payroll, and disbursements.
I move
Alderman
we
Schmidt,
accept and file claims, payrolls, and disbursement.
motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Hayden. White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Zoning Board of Appeals advisory reports.
I move we read as a group.
Your Honor, I'd like, no objection, I'd like number 2 with River Foods read separate, please.
Okay.
I concur with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Read 1 through 1, 3, 4,
1, 3, 4, and 5.
5.
You want to start there?
You got it. Number one, case 62, October 14, Chatham and Bear Civic, requesting a sign installation permit in area of special control in order to place one non-illuminated flush-mounted sign totaling 15 square feet at 107 West Main Street, located in the C2 Heavy Commercial Zoning District. Number 3, case 64, October 14, Chet Shelton, requesting a special use permit for the sale of used autos and equipment at 420 South Illinois Street, located in the C2 Heavy Commercial Zoning District. Case number 65, October 14, William F. Freericks, requesting a use variance in order to place a 12 by 44 portable office trailer behind existing cinder block building at 2914 Mary Irene, located in A1 Single Family Zoning District. Number 5, amend section 60-2-2 to define the term hotel or motel, ordinance 7817.
So moved.
We have motion to approve those we just read and have the proper ordinance drawn?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman White. Discussion on the ones that were just read. Alderman Hayden.
Your Honor, can you, for the public's benefit, have either you or staff explain to the public, item 5, defining the term hotel motel and how that ordinance 7817 fits into the discussion that is ongoing in housing as relates to extended stay?
What's being proposed in ordinance 7817 is to add a definition for hotel or motel within the zoning code. And I think that dovetails with another matter that's being considered that Alderman Hayden referenced, and that's a proposed amendment that I drafted that has been forwarded on for your committee meeting on Wednesday to address Chapter 7 under business license that's currently tourist camps and motels. And what I had drafted for your consideration is some additional provisions in there that draw a distinction between extended stay units and regular hotel motel units that would be on depend upon the length of the stay, whether it's under 30 days or 30 days or beyond. And the significance of the extended stay motel provision is that that would require compliance with your some of your residential code and fire code. So the main additions in it, apart from just updating the section, is to include occupancy provisions that account for extended stay units.
Thank you.
This
Mr. Horner.
was something, as you know, that we talked about doing, but we kind of put it on hold until we got crime-free housing out of the gate, and it's just been brought back up and being revisited now.
And I want to thank, Your Honor, the staff working with the zoning board as well as Mr. Horner working with the housing committee. The bottom line is we're getting to, we do, without mentioning names, have some hotel motels that, in opinions of at least constituents where they are in my ward, feel that they're not actually operating as hotel motel. They're basically operating as permanent living, and they're being abused. And this will take great strides towards rectifying that problem. And I want to thank everybody for helping with that.
We're moving forward with that. Alderman, he was first. Go ahead.
Mayor, are we voting on these with these stipulations in italics? And ask you to approve like number 2?
No, we're not. That's just to keep you informed what the zoning board's recommendation was. Yeah, Emily, you want to comment to that?
Yeah, I do actually. The stipulations that are in italics are actually on the ordinance.
Okay, I'm sorry. The stipulations. Not, I thought you were talking about the vote. Yeah.
They were voted on unanimously. It's on the board, so we-
Yeah, you're talking about the stipulations that we're including those in the recommendation because that's what came from the, yeah, right, in the name of the applicant, et cetera, okay? Good point. I'm sorry. Good point. Lily, do you have a question?
Yes, on number 5, is it too late to vote on that separately, or will we have to say no to all of them?
No, you can, we haven't cast the vote yet, right?
All right,
But if they will agree, we can still vote on 1, 3, and you want to do 5 separately?
yes,
So 1, 3, and 4, and then we'll come back and pick up the other 2.
that's fine.
So if everybody is, who did the second on that? White. Mr., are you okay, Alderman White?
Yes.
Okay, so at this time, I'd call for a vote, a roll call vote, or I'd actually just call for all in favor and have the proper ordinances drawn on item zoning board, case 1, case 3, and case 4. All in favor of those approvals signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We now go back to case 2.
Number 2, case 63, October 14, Ruler Foods, requesting a special use permit for a liquor license at 1703 North Belt West, located in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
I move we approve the request.
You have a motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Anthony. Do I hear discussion? Alderman Hayden.
Yes, Your Honor. Staying consistent with my position on this project, I have no problem with Ruler Foods wanting to come to Belleville. I think that's excellent and great. I've stated before, my problem was the fact that we've used, I believe, $200,000 to help them tear that building down, when that's money coming out of TIF 3 that we could have been using to help build our new police station. So staying consistent with my votes on this project, I will be voting no here as well as the ordinance.
It's certainly fine. I guess my question is, well, no, I'll hold my question. Alderman Randall.
Thank you, Your Honor. As one of the aldermen from Ward 3, conversations I've had with residents that have not been favorable regarding Kroger Ruler Foods from the very beginning and continue.
Use the microphone a little bit way more, Kent.
Particularly residents on Chaucer, Queensway, Dale, Allen, Ben Lewis have all expressed concerns to me, not only about the grocery store opening, but the fact that this liquor license, this special use permit, is now before the City Council. I take issue with the Zoning Board of Appeals advisory report, items C and D, where it cites that the proposed special use would have a positive effect on the value of neighboring property and on this municipality's overall tax base. Also, item D, the proposed special use would have a positive effect on public utilities and on traffic circulation on nearby streets. And I guess with respect to those items, coming from the zoning board, I failed to see where that positive effect on value of neighboring property is going to come from, or a positive effect on public utilities and traffic circulation there. So I do intend to vote in opposition to this request.
Okay, is there anyone else? Alderman Glady.
Well, this is kind of pointed, and this is to Ken. Under objectors, it says none at this zoning hearing, yet
That's
Mr.
right.
Randall was present.
Excuse me, I cannot hear him,
He-
please.
Use the microphone, please.
So I just want to know, did he object at the hearing?
There was no objectors at the hearing that were noted, right, Emily?
If I may, Your Honor?
Yes.
I would like to point out for the record that the zoning board had already heard the case for Ruler Foods, as well as Chet Shelton, and the previous one on Chatham and Barra Civic prior to my arrival. I actually arrived when Mr. Freggs was making his proposal for his request for special use on his property. So I was not there for the entire meeting.
Okay, that's fine. But Alderman Ridgewitz.
I was there at the time when this was brought up before zoning, and there was no objection. And my feelings is that other places that sell food also can sell liquor. Why would we be against these people?
Well, and I just point out one thing, the location there before, which the building sat empty, as we know, for many years, but that location sold liquor at that site for 40, 50 years. So that same site had liquor there, and a lot longer hours than what this place is, I believe, planning to have. So, I mean, from that standpoint, that is, as you know, the projections, whether you were for the project or not, the projections that they gave far as potential sales tax to the city were with the estimate that they would sell liquor. And we believe, I think, Emily, there is a projection stated in the development agreement that an estimate that they would bring in $75,000 to $80,000 a year sales tax.
It's in the development agreement, I have to look at it, remember off the top of my
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty accurate on that. So it's based on those projections. Alderman Hayden?
Yes, Your Honor, but again, as the debate was when we argued over if we're going to give them public money or not. I'm not disputing that they're going to bring in possibly that amount in liquor sales. The question is, how much is that going to detract from other local businesses within the city of Belleville? So if you move the sales from one end of the city to the other, is it truly a net gain for the city? And that's been the question for all along, is to the point of why are we giving them the most highest grossing food chain in the United States money?
Well, right now, we've already done that a long time ago now. The building's been torn down. That part of the development agreement's been satisfied. The question here is, are they entitled to a liquor license?
I understand.
And I guess, if it becomes a legal battle, I don't know, since there was a liquor license on that site for years, whether or not, I don't know how that'll pan out. Just be aware that it is a use that particular address had for a long time. There was no objectors about the problem with liquor. And that's the question. It's not about the overall project that some of you, I know, disagreed on, but liquor is the question here tonight, the use of the variance. Yes, sir.
Yes, but those are two different types of, the Bel Air Bowl was not selling packaged liquor. It's a whole
No, but
different
they had
type
people
of a
there,
liquor
they had people there
license.
drinking until 1 and 2 in the morning
I
sometimes too.
understand it, but there's a difference between drinking inside an establishment and bringing people into your neighborhood buying packaged liquor. It's a whole different type of liquor license, so I don't see no correlation there at all. And I know that the point of interest is on the liquor license itself, but going back to the points raised by Alderman Randall in relation to the character of the neighborhood, since we're on the issue, does the building actually comply with what was initially stated? I mean, I could have swore I remember discussion, I'd have to go back and look at the minutes, that certain things about the way that building was going to look was just the way the design looked on the paper. It wasn't going to be like that. I mean, I've gone by and looked at it, and one of the concerns that I pointed out from the get-go, too, besides the philosophical point of view of public money, was it didn't fit into the character of the neighborhood with those, and I think Mr. Randall addressed that very, very well with the homes around there and the other businesses with brick and et cetera. And then you got this thing sticking out there with the blue and the yellow. It doesn't fit into the character of the neighborhood at all.
Well, the outcome of that is very similar, or I think identical to the posters and to the boards, the display boards that were showed here at the meetings when we all had the discussion. There's nothing any different from what the ones Emily and I had in our office. Alderman Schneider?
Yes, I think part of it with the being the liquor license, isn't it like, I would have to get the ordinance book to look. If it's been closed longer than a year, everything reverts back to residential when it was commercial. And just because there was a liquor license there, that doesn't mean that it should sell liquor again, because they were closed for so long. There was nothing there.
The zoning changes, there's still a commercial zoning status, right, Emily?
Yeah, so the property is zoned C2 heavy commercial district. In the zoning code, there are a list of permitted uses and a list of special uses in each zoning district. And a liquor license is listed as a special use in a heavy commercial district. So therefore, that's why they're here for this request for a special use permit to obtain a liquor license.
And as you know, there's many liquor licenses up and down the North Belt.
Yes.
There's many. And we've approved some just recently with the liquor store down the street, et cetera. So the vote here right now, an aye vote, is to approve Ruler Foods requesting a special use permit to sell liquor at their place, and they're about to open pretty soon. And no vote would deny it. And like I said, regardless of, that's my opinion, regardless of how we've been so far, this is pretty procedural, considering it's not, there's no objections from neighbors. Nobody's called my office as the liquor commissioner objecting to liquor sales at that location. And it was not brought up at the zoning board hearing either. So that's really the vote here tonight. So I'll call for a roll call vote.
Heisler.
Abstain. Reason, conflict is I'm employed by a competitor.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
No.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Hayden.
No.
White.
No.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
The ayes have it.
Yes.
You got the exact count?
Yes, it's 8 to
8 to 6.
6.
Okay. Motion carries. So I would vote aye. The chair would vote aye. We have to have a majority of those present. And he's just double. Majority holding office, I'm sorry. So the chair votes aye, so it would make it a 9 to 6 vote. Okay, good point, and we're learning as we go here. Each and every year. We go back down to number 5. We're going back to the hotel motel. We reread that one already. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve that.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Hayden. Discussion further. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson. Hayden.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
No.
Ayes have it. Oral reports. I'm asking for a motion to accept a $149,397 grant from Metro East Park and Recreation District and enter into a project agreement for Bicentennial Park Phase 2 project.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Anthony. I think before we go any further, I'm going to ask Debbie Belleville to come forward and explain and clarify a few things which might help us as we move forward in our discussion.
This is an IDNR grant, OSLAD grant, that we applied for. A resolution was passed by this council. It was June 26th of 2013, Resolution 3141. This is actually a 50-50% grant matching. City has the responsibility of 50%, and half of this 50% is what this is coming from Metro East Park District. So they're actually paying for a 25% of the project.
So this council's already approved in June of 2013 to accept the IDNR grant of $300,000 roughly. And this coming from now Metro East Parks would pay right at just under $150,000. So that would leave us, our match would be 150 instead of the 300. So just to clarify how the numbers work. But this first 300,000 was approved by this council in resolution in June of 2013.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a pavilion, a playground, a trail extension, and a restroom.
Okay. Alderman Hayden.
I don't recall that resolution, Your Honor. The key question is, at the present, where is the money going to come from?
It would, Jamie, I think as we had talked about, it's coming from, once again, it would have to come from, probably be borrowed from TIF 3 or loaned. Okay?
That's the problem, Your Honor. This is an excellent project. Quality of life is an excellent thing, but when we're in a situation where the people want us to protect and serve first before we move towards quality of life, and we're not delivering on that, in my opinion and many citizens' opinions, we've not paid back TIF 3, the initial point of money that was borrowed from TIF 16, and nor do I believe it will ever be paid back. In the meantime, we are trying to, and we have bought a location for a new police station, and in order to refurbish the police station, Your Honor, we're selling bonds, and the question is the number of bonds that we're having to sell, or even the need to sell bonds. And I'm reading from a press release from October 28, 2014. It states down at the bottom, Mayor Eckert noted that, quote, a bond rating is like a personal credit score. The better the score, the lower the borrowing costs. The city has been effectively managing its finances and rebuilding reserves, which will now lower the city's borrowing costs and benefit all of Belleville's stakeholders. Mayor, no disrespect, but I don't know if we're managing our finances as much as, we are rebuilding our reserves, but we're doing it, sir, with a 1/4 cent additional sales tax that we added on to our merchants that could affect their businesses. We've never had any study done of how that is affecting those businesses. And we've had the argument before, it's only a quarter on $100, but no, you have to take the aggregate of the entire sales tax that it affects the people. When we got people out there, and especially again in my ward, that are having problems paying their house, feeding their children, we have to get our priorities in line here. And I cannot in good conscience borrow money from TIF 3 that I live in and give it to TIF 16 to move forward on a park project when we are trying to scramble to come up with the money to do the new police station. We're overspending, Your Honor.
If I may say, Mr. Hayden, when Mrs. Matrit and I did the bond interview, the conference call with Standard & Poor's a couple weeks ago, and we told them about all the things we were doing in the city, and we gave all the reports and answers. Some of the words that they used was they were very pleased to hear the balance and some of the quality of life things that we were doing in the city. This AA bond rating that we just received is going to save the police department project conservatively at least $500,000, probably up to $800,000, because we've improved our bond rating. So we didn't do this because poor financial planning. And they noted very clearly in our discussion with them that the overall planning, and just like our comp plan recently that we went through and got an award on, it's about looking at the big picture and having a balance, striking a balance between quality of life with trails and parks and police stations and fire stations and all the things that we're doing, and not just putting all your, for lack of better terms, all your eggs or money in one project. It's a balance, road projects, sewer projects. So I respect your opinion, but I just want to tell you, in recent conversation with that group, and we just now got the AA bond rating, I think they recognize that we've, but it's a matter of opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion.
My point being, Your Honor, I feel that the people should know what I consider the truth here. I'm not disputing it, that the fact that we got the better bond rating and we're gonna save it is excellent. That is excellent. But we have to note that it is being done primarily with the sales tax. We were short $600,000 cash flow from the state of Illinois. We, long before I was on the city council, created a wheel tax. It only took in $400,000, but it took in $400,000. Next year it took in $300,000. The people didn't want it. We got rid of it. Then we created the sales tax, which has taken an estimate of $1.2 million in the last 3 years. And so that's $4.7 million that we've taken into the people's money, initially over a $600,000 shortfall from the state. So I think we need to be honest with the public of where this money's come from and how we have done it. And also remind the public that we extended it under the name of a cops grant, and we never got that. And
We've applied
and
twice
we've not
now,
put
you
any
know.
more cops directly on the
Yeah, no.
street with this.
No, that's not true. That's not true. We got a thing going for the Finance Committee, you're aware of. If not, you will be this week, and we talked about it. In Housing Committee, it was passed, right, Mr. Sable? To
That's coming
to
from
add
the
another.
rent tax.
Huh?
I believe that money's coming from
Whether,
the rent
no,
tax.
no matter how it comes, we're gonna be up to 85 officers by the first of the year. So we are hiring, it's gonna be 3 more than, 18 months ago. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, we tried getting the, sales tax on the ballot to let the public speak how they felt, but it was just voted down. We're not spending our money wisely. If we were, we wouldn't need this extra sales tax. And that's where it's wrong. If you guys wanna spend this for the park, fine, but do it without creating this extra sales tax. Let the money come and spend it as it comes in. Don't plan ahead. This sales tax should not have lasted. It had a sunset clause, and then it was extended. And we're still paying, we have one of the highest sales tax around. I'm talking about the stores where people have to shop for their everyday needs, like Walmart, Target. The sales tax is so much higher than the surrounding areas, and they're thriving, they're growing. We just have to cut back and do priority spending where it is needed.
Alderman Schmidt's next.
I'm really confused. I don't see, are we talking about a sales tax for the park, or?
No, no.
okay.
That they're kind of mixing that conversation. Our match will be paid from the TIF, right, Jamie, as we stated. Sales tax got nothing to do with this. It's a separate topic.
And
I
these
believe
other funds that are listed
Alderman
here.
White's hand up was next, then Kinsella, then Randall. Alderman White?
I had a question along a little bit different lines. I just wondered, do we have any data supporting the current usage of the park and see what the requirements are and how it's being utilized now?
And we don't have any programs that are at this time planned where we have numbers, but I can tell you, I think Debbie would agree. I know Jason and I had this conversation just this past week. The use of the park has improved constantly. The neighbors over there would tell you that. I pass there daily. It's definitely growing, but it takes time. It's like anything, but it's really helped lift that neighborhood up, and people are reinvesting, and we're seeing there's other dividends, but that's just a matter of your opinion if you believe in that overall parks theory. But I think if you look at that neighborhood there off of South 21st Street, there's been some dramatic positive change. But we can discuss that all night. Debbie? And it's going to be on the old, I call it the old side. It's going to be on the 21st Street side. This is all going to be development on the original Angler's entrance. So this is where you're going to be lifting up that neighborhood next to the existing housing and next to the area that's going to be investing where the neighbors are really excited about the proposal. Who is next? Alderman Kinsella?
Your Honor, discussions of the sales tax are really not what we're talking about right here. Right now, we owe $300,000 as our portion of this project. The item in front of us says that we will get a grant for about 150 of that, meaning that we will only owe 150. I think anybody who cannot see that cutting our share down by 150,000 is the right thing to do, no matter if the money's coming from TIF 3 or the sales tax or whatever. We here right now are having an opportunity to save our taxpayers $150,000.
And let's just back up a second. We already approved this in June of 13. The majority, I don't have the exact vote, but it did pass, and we have, Debbie? There was 4 no votes, so it was 12 to 4 to approve this in 2013, and we made that commitment to pay that balance then. Now what we're doing is have the opportunity at our doorstep tonight to cut our responsibility in half. So we got an opportunity, a gift here, because the staff applied for this, to accept this and cut our responsibility that we approved, that this council agreed to in 2013, June of 13, now to cut that responsibility in half. Alderman Galetti? Okay, Alderman Schneider?
Yes. There is no money in the TIF that the park sits in. So that means they're gonna be borrowing it from another TIF. When will the original amount loan be paid back? That should be paid back first before we start borrowing again from that TIF. If you haven't paid it back from the first loan, what makes you think it's gonna get paid back for the second loan?
You know, Alderman Schneider, we've talked about this many times, and to the public, this is the TIF we borrowed when we worked to save Wagner's dealership. And that's in the same TIF, TIF 16, right, Jamie? There are some reasons to believe now that that TIF is getting stronger, and there will be some money there that we can start to pay back in time. I can't give you the dates, but
it
there.
isn't.
Okay.
I wasn't done talking, and you started talking.
Yes, ma'am.
But the money isn't there. You need to pay back the first loan first. You don't keep borrowing. It's not right. You wouldn't, how many people would borrow on something and then borrow again without even making any payments back to the first loan? You're not going to pay it back. It's never gonna get paid back. And this is not right, taking the money from there. If the TIF wants to pay for the park there, let the money build up and then do it. You don't take and borrow from another one when you didn't even pay the first loan back.
You complete?
Yes.
Alderman Galetti.
I just wanted some clarification. We keep talking about this vote we had June of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted to know was, my understanding of that vote was that it was just a vote to allow whoever applies for these grants to apply for it.
No, that was to accept it with the resolution.
Us to take it.
That was to accept the grant with the resolution. We normally apply for grants, but until we get them, then we come to the council and say, here's the terms and conditions. Will you accept this? Can we accept it? And when we did the resolution, that's what that was, acceptance, right, Debbie?
That resolution is part of the application process. We have to have the resolution before we apply.
On that one for IDNR.
So we didn't have it when we were.
Okay, but we made the statement at the time that for applying it, if we get it, we made a conscious commitment. That one's different. Some grants we get, we apply, but until we get them and we accept them, the terms and conditions, we accept them that night. But this one here, in this particular one, I remember now, we had to have a resolution that stated our support of this for us to even apply. Otherwise, it would have been kicked out right away. And we notified everybody right away. There was no secret that we got it and that these were the terms and conditions.
Do we know?
It was in the budget that way. The budget passed, correct, Jamie, with the match, this past year's budget. Okay, it'll be in this coming year's budget. Okay, I'm sorry. But it was talked about that it would be coming, okay.
So did we, she says that we needed the resolution that we all voted on to include in the application to apply
That
for
particular
grant.
application, yes, for
What I
IDNR.
want to know is that, did we know at the time that even including the resolution into the grant, that we were going to get it?
No, but we notified the council once we got it.
What I'm saying, though, is that at the time that we applied for, it, including the resolution, we didn't know whether we were going to get it or not. It wasn't a sure thing, was it?
Not at that moment, no.
All right, that's what I wanted to know.
Not at that moment. But it's been notified, we've all been notified since that we
Sure.
received it.
Sure.
And that there was a match. Any other questions? Alderman Davidson?
Are any grants a guarantee just because we put an application in
No.
for that grant?
No,
We have no guarantee on any grant, do we?
no, no. Just like we mentioned a little bit ago, going back to the COPS grant, which is a totally different subject than the Parks grants, we applied twice, and we've had some luck many years ago, but this last 2 rounds, the pot had shrunk, and we didn't meet their qualifications of what they're currently going after. You had your hand up?
I did. So when she said this will be in next year's budget, where? In TIF 16? In
It's gonna,
TIF
well,
3?
it'll be 16 with a proposal to loan it from TIF 3. That's never been hidden. That's been talked about since the beginning of time.
I'm not accusing anybody.
No, I'm just saying, that's been a fact. But it would have to be, it actually won't be appropriated because this project wasn't gonna get done this year. We had too many, and we didn't find out about this, we found out about it in April.
Okay, so my second question then is, have any contracts been signed or any equipment been ordered at this point?
Contracts have been signed that we accept the grant, yes.
I don't mean with that accepting the grant, I mean with any of the equipment providers.
No, because it's not in this year's budget. We know it's in 2000, plan on putting it in 2015.
Okay, yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hopefully, we'll be able to move on with a vote here. I just have a couple of questions. I want to be more forward-looking than anything else right now. I know that we've got a practice of loaning money from one TIF to another TIF, TIF 3 to TIF 16, for example. But what I'd like to see moving forward are what are the terms of the loan? How is it to be executed, and over what period of time will it be repaid back? That, I think, would be a question I'd like to see answered for the future.
And that's something I think the Finance Committee can certainly toil with. And we have had these loans before, and I think everyone's well aware that TIF 16, after all the struggles we went through with working to keep the Buick dealership surviving in this area, we were just told recently, Garrett and I in a meeting, that their sales are back up to what they were several years ago when times were good, before they started to really falter with all the problems when they, several things happened. So we're starting to see the sales tax increase in that TIF, and we're also starting to see the payments and all that for all the TIF money coming back in, and hopefully in time. I don't have an exact timeline. I don't disagree with you that that's something to work for, but once again, in order to, continue the whole project for the Bicentennial Park and for the connecting trails and some of the things that we consciously did with our master plan, et cetera, this project has been very open and very talked about on the table for a number of years. When we did the whole Belleville Crossing roadway, it was always a part of that whole plan. Because if you remember, and maybe you do, it was before probably actually you got on the council, we had to annex that property that we bought for the park ultimately before we could get out to and tie everything together in order to keep the car dealerships and make that road go through. That was all part of that whole, plan of action that we had to go through. So, Alderman Schneider?
Out of all the loans from TIF 3 to TIF 16, how many of them have ever been paid back? Or even any payments made to it?
The only loan balance between 3 and 16 is about $100,000. I pay back on it every year.
So we pay back every year, and we're down to about $100,000 we owe it. And if we borrow this, in the next couple of years, we should be able to put that together for Mr. Randall's question, that we can get a time schedule of paying it back. It's being done. I couldn't spit it out here, and I didn't want to put Jamie on the spot right here because I didn't have the ledger in front of me. Alderman Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question for Devin. We're gonna have some more access for
And Alderman Davidson, I just want to reiterate, the reason I got behind the Parks Department staff when they came to me with this when we proposed it immediately, this second phase here is addressing the 21st Street neighborhood side. This is a side of the neighborhood that's going to continue to help lift up an older established part of Belleville. And I think it's very exciting. Those neighbors are elated to see improvements. You know, they put up with a burnout building that was there before we bought that property that sat there forever when they torched that building back when it was, before we owned it, the old Helen's Fish, or the old Angler's Lodge. I mean, this area is already improving, but with these improvements, you're going to see even more, I believe, lifting up the neighborhood there, and property values, et cetera, tend to have a positive enforcement from that. Mr. Hayden?
Once again, Your Honor, I don't think anybody here is stating that this is a bad project. There's a lot of nobility to the project. The question is, can we afford it at this time? And where's the money coming from? It's great that the car dealerships are getting back on track in the sales tax. Hopefully that will maybe increase the property values, because again, for TIF 16 to be more salvageable, the property values need to go up. And if you recall, one of those two car dealerships had their property tax reduced 38%, and we never did get an answer as to how that got done. The Board of Review didn't know how it got done. The Assessor's Office didn't know how it got done. We were told that it was done by some form of appraisal, but our staff didn't have the appraisal, so to this day nobody knows how that got done. But hopefully that'll raise the property value. And in relation to the other side of the 21st Street, many would argue that that's where we should have started from in the first place. But the question is, it's not, nobody's questioning the value. I mean, back in the June of 2013 when this resolution went, nobody had a crystal ball of what our financial condition is going to be in. And if the TIF 16 does not have the money to do it, and we're borrowing from TIF 3 when we're trying to do the police station at the same time, we're going to have to come down to priorities.
Okay. Alderman Schneider first. Schmidt first.
Okay, the Bicentennial Park Neighborhood Association is very much in favor of this. I've been by the park, I think, every day for the past 4 days, and there's been more and more people. Today there were like 9 or 10 cars at one time. I came back by, and there were a bunch of people that just looked like way more for the cars. The new playground that you put in with the Caterpillar is adorable, and it was lovely to see kids out there loving it. I mean, so this park is getting used. And I also want to comment on the walkways. Driving down Main Street today, I guess these kids were from Lindenwood, I don't know. There was a bunch of runners running down Main Street. Looked like, okay, some kind of athletic program. And I thought how dangerous that was as they had to cross all the side streets, and that when the trail is through, that would be a great place for them, but they can't do it now.
And if I'm not mistaken, Debbie and Jim, Lindenwood's already using they're using the cross-country trails back there now that once Belleville West and Jim Schneider used many years ago when he was at Belleville West. So, and they're out there helping us volunteer to clear those trails. They're working several workout. I mean, there's been a lot of partnerships, and there's been a lot of positive that's come from this park. And keep in mind, this park was named by this council, Bicentennial, as a point of reference for this 200 celebration that we've had such success with this year. So if the, Alderman Holt, I believe you're next.
Thank you. My question has to do with timing. If nothing is going to be done on this project before next year, certainly before the next budget year, why does this have to be passed tonight?
To be able to accept the grant, we got the Metro East Parks has to know if this is adequately going to be that we're going to pay for our that the project is going to fall through and not come back on them where they have a project where the money wasn't allocated. It won't be done until next budget year. And as Jamie just said here, I didn't want to put her on the spot, but I think she can pull those numbers. We've been paying back TIF 3 from TIF 16, and by the end of this year or by next year, we should have what's done so far. So we should be down to only this new this new $149,000 pretty closely, pretty soon, that's will be, so it's gonna get paid back. I feel confident.
Okay, but we're talking about things that we, this particular council, insisted be loans. Clearly, much money transferred without even bothering to call it a loan. It was just a gift from TIF 3 into TIF 16.
Well, when we were trying to say the car dealership, yes, there was a point where we, the council, knew we didn't know if we'd get it back. We didn't know if it was even going to survive. We didn't know if they would come back the way they have. We didn't know we didn't have that total crystal ball. We just knew that what we had invested on that road and on that whole connection there, and when Wagner and Joseph both tried to fight to stay in Belleville.
But, Mr. Mayor, it was inappropriate financial behavior to move from one TIF to another without it being a loan. And for you to sit there now and say, well, we're almost paid it back, is not a realistic picture of what happened.
Well, our auditors.
In addition, I am unhappy that we have not even talked about budgets yet or given the council to make priorities, and you are already tying our hands.
Well, we in a sense back in 13 when we started moving forward then, Alderman Kinsella.
Your Honor, there are 2 points I'd like to make. First of all, every time we have ever transferred funds from one TIF to another, it has always been referred to as a loan, okay? There's no loan papers written out. It's just done through the budget.
With the intent.
We realized it's a loan, and we realized it when we approved it. The council approved all of these things. The next thing I'd like to repeat is that, as I said before, right now while we're sitting here, we owe $300,000 on this project. In 5 minutes, if we get to vote on it in 5 minutes, if we vote for it, we will only owe $150,000. If we do not vote for it, and 8 people say that they oppose it, we will owe $300,000.
It just won't get done.
Because we will not get the grant.
Then we don't have to do it.
Well,
We
that's
don't want
fine,
anything.
but understand, if that's the way we're gonna go, then our chance of acquiring new grants in the future, if you're gonna come back a year later now and tell the IDNR, you know what, we've had a whole change of heart, we're not gonna do our match, so here it is back. That's fine, it could happen, but you really take a major step backwards when in the future you wanna compete for some of these dollars for other projects. Like I said, maybe some of you, when we had this resolution, et cetera, maybe some of this conversation should have been, a lot healthier then. But it passed, and we moved forward, and there's never been a secret about this. They've been talking about this Metro East grant. I know they've been conversation in their office. I know it probably the Parks Board, et cetera. It's been going on for a long time. So this hasn't been a secret. It's just here tonight we're having it, like Alderman Kinsella says, we can reduce our responsibility for what we've committed to from 300 down to 150. Now, if you want to turn around and send the message that we don't want, I think we really do hurt the city of Belleville's image applying for other grants if a year plus later, a year and a half later, we come back and say now we're not going to fund that. I think that then what you're basically saying is we've got no more interest to do anything in Bicentennial Park. Because if I know there's been some hard feelings about Bicentennial from a few people from the beginning, but the majority of this council has made motions and has voted to move this project forward, and it has had great success and much appreciation by many neighbors who live over there, et cetera. So this is true. You can, but we can really put a tailspin on our future park grants, I believe, if we go negatively here. Alderman Schneider?
Yes, we do not have a crystal ball. What happens if there is a disaster and we don't have the money? Let's say the economy we don't know what's going to happen. And this election ain't over. That could change a lot of things. Come next spring, we don't know if we're gonna have that money or not. And if we say yes to this, then we're gonna have to go through with it for a park versus fix a road or do something else. This is not a priority. It is wrong. We do not know what's going to happen in the future come spring. we may not even have the money. And, oh, well, then we'll just raise the sales tax, or we'll get it some other how, and put something else on the back burner that is more important.
Well, you know, I guess I would understand some of this statements of what I guess I'm perceiving tonight as kind of doom and gloom if our audit would have been terrible a couple weeks ago, and if we wouldn't have just received this AA bond rating. I think we've been very, very sufficiently reinforced recently that this council has made some good financial choices, some good planning, and we've had some good balance to how we're growing this city. And not just, you know, in any one stand, it's in a variety of ways. Quality of life, roads, sewers, you know, police station, fire station a couple of years ago, downtown streetscape, and enticing and working with Lindenwood. We've juggled and done a lot of things that we should all be very proud of. And the recent audit report again was great. And now this going to a AA bond rating, I think is just awesome. And I think that moving forward on this park plan just fits into the comprehensive plan that you all pitched into and talked about the value of parks and quality of life and trails that we got an award in the state for. Alderman Kinsella?
When Alderman Schneider says, what happens if we have a disaster? And that is a good question. But we have just finished replenishing our reserves. And you ask where that money went from the taxes. They went to replenish our reserves so that if we have a disaster, we have something to fall back on, and that's one of the reasons we got the better bond rating, is because they recognize we've taken those steps.
It is the reason. I mean, it's the major reason.
But we've had to pay back a tremendous amount of money to the reserves, and that's where that tax money went, if you're
Right.
wondering.
Right.
Call the question.
We'll call for the vote. We're voting, just to reiterate to everybody, the motion is to, who made the motion originally? Alderman Schmidt, who seconded?
Anthony.
Second was Johnny. To approve the $149,397 grant from the Metro East Park District to enter into a project agreement for the Bicentennial Phase 2 project. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Hayden.
No.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
No.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett.
No.
Schneider.
No.
The chair would vote aye, but we got a quorum.
We have 9.
We have 9.
9-5.
Yeah, 9-5. I don't need to vote. Okay, just double check. Motion carries. Thank you for the healthy discussion. Okay, we move now to communications.
A, communication from Belleville Parks and Recreation Department requesting temporary street closure, police assistance, and barricades for the annual Gingerbread 5K Run and Walk on Saturday, December 6, 2014.
Motion approved.
Motion by Alderman Hayden. Who is the second? Second by Alderman Schmidt. Discussion. All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions, we have none. Resolutions, we have none. Ordinances, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Ordinances 7813, 7814, 7815, 7816, and 7817.
So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Randall, second by Alderman Heisler.
No, Your Honor, I'd like ordinance 7814 read separately.
We can do that, but this is a motion to read by title only. Do I have a second for that? Second by Alderman Schmidt. All in favor of reading those ordinances by title only signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's do this. Do you prefer to read that one? Is there anyone besides 14 that we want to read separate?
17.
Okay, so would you, Mr. Clerk, please read 13, 15, and 16 first again, like we did the earlier vote?
Ordinance number 7813 is zoning ordinance regarding case 62, October 14, Chatham and Bear Civic. C, ordinance number 7815 is zoning ordinance regarding case 64, October 14, Chet Shelton. D, ordinance number 7816 is zoning ordinance regarding case 64, October 14, William F. Freericks.
Do I hear a motion to approve those three? Motion by Alderman Kinsella, do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Schmidt to approve 7813, 7815, and 7816. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Hayden. White. Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion's carried. Ask now, but you'd read you want to read the next two separate? read 14 first by itself.
B, ordinance number 7814, a zoning ordinance regarding case 63, October 14, Ruler Foods.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Anthony. Discussion, further discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Abstain as given the reasons before.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
No.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
No.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Hayden.
No.
White.
No.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
No.
Chair would vote aye. So we would
Then
have,
make
we
it
got
9.
8, I would be 9.
9 with you, yeah.
9 would be fine, okay. Motion carries. We go to ordinance number, do I have a motion to approve ordinance 7817? Motion by Alderman Schmidt, second by Alderman Hayden. Discussion. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
No.
Motion carries. We have unfinished business?
Question, Your Honor, if I may. With the pending annexation of the latest snows, have we done any cost-benefit analysis or study in relation to our projected cost of services of bringing it into the city versus potential revenue?
I think when we get ready to propose the development agreement, you'll see figures and you'll see some analyzation that's been done and being proposed. It's a little premature. We're hoping to have the annexation, official annexation petition, maybe as soon as the next meeting, but there's a lot of, not Mr. Harner's fault, but there's a lot of attorneys on the other side of the table that are reviewing a lot of things. So the annexation petition first has to come, but the development agreement will explain a lot about what we anticipate when you hear all the development being proposed in the first phase, what it should potentially bring in as far as number of jobs, what it should bring in sales tax, what it could produce in TIF revenue, et cetera. And that's all right now being continued to be discussed
Right,
with staff.
right.
We're not ready to go out there tonight.
I understand that, respect that. I'm just saying, you know, in communities I worked in before and others that I've worked with, you know, most annexations that I've seen were, there was, you know, a cost-benefit analysis done to where you had to actually show your projection of the cost of services that were going to be put on the current taxpayers versus what was potentially going to be gained to make sure that this is a fair thing for both sides. You know, in regardless of what the hypotheticals or the potentials are done, I would hope that we have done that and could provide that to the aldermen along with the other information that you're doing, because that is the core crust of you know, you got to look at, you know, what is happening on an even scale right now. You know, whether we get any future development out or not, you know, that there should be hard evidence showing that this is, you know, being brought in, you know, so it's not adding cost to the current taxpayers, and that
There'll be a lot of facts that will be shared when we get to that point, and hopefully we will get to that point, but we're still working diligently to get to the next phase. Mr. Harner would be the annexation agreement, and then we'll have the development proposal, and we'll have a lot more information to share and to explain to you far as why we feel, at least at this point of my involvement, I can tell you I'm extremely excited about what this means to Belleville. But there is still a lot of things to go through, and there's some hurdles, and we'll explain that further as we get closer.
And the lady's already left, but I appreciate the proclamation as related to COPD, because that's basically what killed my mother. And I do believe, I think either November or March is one of those months. This is also highlights juvenile diabetes, and maybe someday we can look into doing a proclamation
All they
for
gotta
that.
do is get it to my office, Mr. Hayden, and we'll be glad, because this administration has been very strong for all these years, as you probably recognize.
I appreciate
That we will do anything we can to educate the public on these health things, because anytime we can do that, it's just like our own employees. We just recently had a health fair, very successful. Our goal is to help our employees stay healthy, and selfishly, it helps us with our insurance. It helps us overall with costs that we pay out. So there's a lot of benefits, and we're trying through education. That's why I take the time. So if you have a proclamation, I'll gladly read it. You just gotta get me some information so my assistants can help me put it together. Alderman Schneider.
Yes, back in July, we were going to start sending out a certificate of proof for the development agreements that we have written to make sure they're upholding their agreements. How many have been returned, how many have been sent out, and how much proof do we have that any have been returned? I would like to see them.
Well, I think.
And we have one that, I don't know if we have to go into executive session to say the name that has been closed for quite a while, and it's quite a bit of money. I didn't see it on the attorney's list that it's in litigation.
I think if we go to executive session, I think you should ask those questions there.
But the proof of the certificates, how many have been sent out to get
Eric.
No, this is public information.
I'm just saying is, Emily's gonna tell you a little bit, but Eric's the one, as you know, has sent them out and working on them, and he's not here tonight.
All I was gonna ask is that you contact me tomorrow, and I'll be happy to get it for you. I don't have all those facts and figures here with me tonight.
But that's been worked on, and he did them just as we promised.
I'm happy to get it for you tomorrow.
Just
I
as-
just don't have it here with me tonight, because I didn't know we were gonna talk
Could you
about it.
please put the copies in my mailbox, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, question resolved. Okay, under miscellaneous and new business, we have a motor fuel claims in the amount of $52,712.02. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Hayden, do I hear a second? Second. Second by Alderman White, do I hear discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Ridgewitz. Randall. Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Hayden.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. You had a question about something
I
else?
do. I read in the paper you had a meeting with a lady about Mount Hope Cemetery. Can you give us some information about that?
Lady who had family out there, we've had many meetings with Mount Hope Cemetery, I mean, numerous. I'll meet with anybody looking for ways to help us diminish our responsibility. But if we don't step up to the plate, as I stated in the paper, that was Wally Spear's article the other day, we'll have a dump, and it'll kill West
Right.
Belleville.
Right.
This lady here is seeking to, the good thing that's come out of the meeting the other day is that the St. Clair County Historical Society, with the permission of the comptroller from the state of Illinois' office, is allowing them now to copy records. Because myself and Dale Kurz and Joe Hubbard, a few of us who've been working together on this for some time, were very much, recently the building there had a leak, and there was water damage and mold, and we were afraid that the records were gonna be, and this is what prompted me to call this woman. The state is getting that fixed. They are securing and cleaning the mold, not that they're gonna use the building, but we took the records with their approval. They were moved to another site temporarily. But now that we saw this potential danger of not having a second copy of them, they're putting them all on microfiche or scanning them or whatever they can do.
The state's paying to have that done?
The state is working, actually, the St. Clair County Historical Society is doing an awful lot of it gratis. Because they see this as a historic
Oh, it is, absolutely.
1897, the cemetery. So we're working on that. That's being adjusted. We're continuing to look at trying to establish non-for-profits such as possibly a Friends of Mount Hope. We're continuing to encourage volunteerism out there, groups, et cetera, and the city's going to continue to cut what we have to make sure it looks presentable. But we're making progress, but there's a lot of unanswered questions, and there's nobody that I see today or tomorrow that's going to jump in that financial mess and take it. So unfortunately, we're there for a while, and I'm just trying to you know, as the chief executive officer of the city, I'm trying to make sure that we're cutting costs where we can, but still protecting ourselves and those families out there.
Okay, would you also make an announcement about the St. Elizabeth's second hearing?
The second hearing, I will. We'll probably talk a little bit more for a second in executive session. But the second hearing is scheduled for November 18th at Belleville West High School. I believe it's in the Commons, is what they said. You'll have to watch our web or watch the news, but I think they said it's going to be in the Commons area because that's probably the easiest access as far as handicap accessibility, right in that closest to the parking lot people can pull up. And I believe, and don't hold me to this, and maybe Jacqueline knows better than I do. Maybe she researched this already, but I believe the sign-in is at 4 o'clock and the hearing is actually from 5 until 7. Does that sound right, anybody? I know, do you remember, you're looking it up here? Am I close?
I'm not there yet.
Okay. So much for technology. We'll have that answer for you in a second. But it is important, from my opinion, that we continue to have people there to voice their concerns. Obviously, having the good response we had at the October 2nd meeting prompted the state to listen for a second hearing, and that is very important. So Garrett and I will be working with the attorney we agreed to work with, Mr. Silberman and others, and the grassroots effort group that's opposed the move. They're working very diligently. So we need people there on November 18th at Belleville West High School.
I haven't found it yet. It's at Belleville West, November 18th. I'll give you the time as soon as I have it.
And if anybody's in doubt, we'll have it on the web. If it's not already up, it'll be on our web probably the next, here it is.
It's at 5 p.m. on November 18th. Sign-in for the hearing will be conducted from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. Belleville West High School, Commons/cafeteria. Of course, 4063 Frank Scott Parkway West. So sign in from 4:30 to 5. Hearing begins at 5 in the Commons cafeteria area.
Okay. Very good. Good information. Okay. With that being said, I'd ask for a motion to go in executive session. You should have seen the revised copy that came out. We had normally we always have personnel on there. It was omitted, so it's for the purposes of personnel, litigation, and property acquisition. Do I hear a motion, Alderman Schmidt? Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Schneider. All in favor of going in executive session for those stated reasons signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a possibility we will come back and have one vote. Okay, I recognize we're back in open session. As the agenda stated, if I can find my agenda here, we had that there was a possible motion or motions to approve land acquisition. It's going to be one motion I'm asking for. I'm asking for a motion to approve, to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract to purchase some property for the city of Belleville in the cost of $42,000. Until the contract gets signed, we won't go into all the exact details. But motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Rudjewitz. Do we have any further discussion on what we discussed? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudjewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony. Davidson. Hayden. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Schmidt, second by Hayden. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank